The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools. If it's the sport you care about, we're talking about it. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Full Court Press, Eric Frandsen. Sorry, a little late there. Getting back on the dial. We had an issue with the phone call here. We're working it out, getting our guests lined up. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll hear from Troy Rolle, former Utah State men's basketball player. Just trying to wrap up a few things before he can jump on with us. But anyway, so it's going to be an exciting week this week here on the Full Court Press. Stay tuned for the next couple of days. We'll be hearing from a lot of former Utah State basketball players. There's going to be a reunion night coming up on Saturday. It should be a really fun night. There's going to be some throwback jerseys. There's going to be some T-shirts available. Former players in the house, former coaches in the house. So you don't want to miss that one when Utah State plays against Boise State and they host the Broncos. A big revenge game for Utah State, certainly. A game where Utah State had complete control and couldn't finish and lost the game in overtime. And I've never seen a collapse like that before. And so Utah State's going to have a big chip on their shoulder on Saturday night. Reminder, the games this week, Utah State plays UNLV on Wednesday. That's going to be at 8 o'clock. And if you can't make it to the game, you can watch it on CBS Sports Network. And then on Saturday, it'll be Boise State. Similarly, 8 o'clock tip-off, broadcast on CBS Sports Network. So stay tuned for that. We'll be talking to former players in the lead-up to that. Several interviews that we have lined up. We're really excited to see how that all plays out and hear from them, their memories of their time at Utah State, the matchups that they had, the players that they faced, the games that they played, and just what it was like to play in the Spectrum those many years ago. So stay tuned for a lot of those as we roll those out throughout the week. But last night, it was a big game, a big day in sports, certainly the Super Bowl, and one of the highest-rated Super Bowls of the last several years. Ratings have been trending downward over the last several seasons, but this one ticked up just a little bit, and it was an interesting game. It wasn't – I like what Dan Patrick had to say there with his Above the Noise segment, that it wasn't necessarily a super exciting game, but it was a good game. Two good teams, very differing styles, and even though San Francisco had that 10-point lead in the second half, we've certainly seen what Kansas City has done, and even in these playoffs, how they've battled back from double-digit deficits to come back and win games and without batting much of an eye. I'll be honest, though, I was a little surprised. Maybe I'm on an island here, but I was a little surprised to hear that Patrick Mahomes was named as the MVP. Certainly what sets him apart and why he got the MVP is because of what he was able to do in the second half, what he was able to do in the fourth quarter to engineer that comeback for Kansas City. But honestly, I thought for the entirety of the game, Damian Williams deserved to be the MVP for Kansas City. I thought he was more consistent. I thought he was more dangerous running the ball for them. He got into the end zone, scored a touchdown. He had that 38-yard run, and even caught the ball a little bit out of the backfield. So I thought Damian Williams was the MVP of the entirety of the game, but certainly you have to look at who engineered the game-winning drives, the game-winning situations. And that was Patrick Mahomes. 42 pass attempts, 286 yards. He did throw 2 picks, and that's why I'm leaning more towards Williams. That was the MVP for the Chiefs and how he played. I thought that San Francisco ran their game plan pretty much how they wanted, but then they started to get some pressure. Kansas City got some pressure on Garoppolo in that second half. It made him very uncomfortable. They did force him into throwing the ball maybe a little bit more than he wanted, but I thought he was pretty effective for most of it. But I think he got a little bit rattled in a few times tried to chuck the ball away when he should have thrown it away earlier, or just not thrown the ball away, which caused some of the interceptions that he did have. But overall, I thought it was a fun game to watch. How San Francisco ran the ball well, the way they utilized the fullback and tight end in passing plays, were just physical, pounded at you style of offense. And then their defense was aggressive and made things really difficult, rushing Patrick Mahomes and making him scramble a little bit more. But give Mahomes credit for what he was able to do, not being rattled, not shying away from the moment, as a former quarterback under Andy Reid did the last time Andy Reid took his team to the Super Bowl. But Patrick Mahomes was cool and calm and was able to engineer a great comeback and score and lead his team to 21 points in the fourth quarter after it looked like this was going to be all San Francisco. But anyway, it was a fun game. It was an entertaining game in the second half especially. And, of course, couldn't be prouder for Andy Reid. Great guy. He certainly has connections to the state of Utah. And he made some comments after the Super Bowl that just expressing his joy for what the whole experience was like, and what that process has been like for him and the Chiefs.
I still enjoy doing what I'm doing. I got this young quarterback over here that makes life easy every day. Every day, man. It's a pleasure to come to work and know that you have an opportunity to coach him and his teammates. So, and Brett Veach understands, what it takes to win, number one, but also the kind of people that we enjoy working with. So he brings those kind of guys in and makes it enjoyable. So I really haven't gone there to answer the question.
I think the question was if he's done, if he's going to retire and call it a day. But I don't think he will. I think that this team is set up for success for several years, and Patrick Mahomes certainly a big part of that, and he wants to continue to be a part of that. Some of his comments following the championship last night.
Yeah, to me, that's stuff that's handled with other people. Obviously, I want to be in Kansas City for a long time. I understand that. I want to win a lot of football.
He says he wants to win a lot of football games. Yes, he does. Anyway, he says in essence he wants to be in Kansas City a long time and wants to be a part of the organization and is very happy with his situation in Kansas City. This was for the 49ers side, this was certainly a tough loss for them, and the way that it got away from them in the second half, scoring 10 points in the third quarter, 10-point lead. It was certainly going according to their game plan, and they were executing things how they wanted for the most part, but then it got away from them there in the fourth quarter. Jimmy Garoppolo, some of his comments afterwards, saying he wants to remember the feeling because, like Kansas City, San Francisco is a younger team that's built to have a run of success if they play their cards right.
I mean, you can see it in guys' eyes in there. It means something to guys, and it means you got guys who care about what they're doing, guys who care about each other, and we're a young team, got a very bright future, and so got to take this in stride, remember this feeling, and let it fuel us in the off season.
George Kittle has had a great year for San Francisco, and we thought it could be an interesting battle between two great tight ends, and he weighed in afterwards for the 49ers as well. Not happy about how things went for the 49ers, but believes that, like Garoppolo, this is the start of something special for the 49ers.
I mean, one thing that sticks with me is just being part of the Coach Shanahan, John Lynch's first draft class. How we kind of the foundation, help build it up. We have a great draft class. We have a lot of good guys with us. Just the success that we had all season. Being able to rely on each other, whether it's defense making plays, special teams making plays, offense making plays. I think we did that well all year.
Then some final comments from Coach Shanahan and for how things went and for the 49ers and where they go from here after having control of the game and then watching it slip away from them. and now having to turn their attention to the next season already.
We'll lick our wounds. We'll get over this. We'll be fired up for next year. We've got a lot of people coming back. I think we surprised a lot of people this year. We knew we had a good team, and I'm very proud of the guys and how much better they got throughout this year, and expect to get almost all these guys back and plan on adding a few more.
And if you didn't catch it, certainly most people watched it on television. We had the broadcast, the radio broadcast here on The Fan on Sunday. But for the hometown radio crew, this was what the final call sounded like for the Kansas City Chiefs Sunday night.
Kansas City 31, San Francisco 20. Mahomes takes the snap. He is just going to throw it long for Demarcus Robinson. It is going to use up all the time. The game is over, and the Chiefs Kingdom has firmly planted its flag on top of football's highest summit. The Kansas City Chiefs are champions of Super Bowl 54. Final score, Kansas City 31, San Francisco 20. And Chiefs Kingdom, get ready to welcome your champions.
Gotta love the passion for the hometown radio crew, right? So very cool moment for Kansas City, their first championship in 50 years. Really exciting to see what that franchise has done over the years, but never won a Super Bowl like this since they've been in Kansas City. So exciting for them to get that, to have that moment. For Andy Reid, Darwin Thompson, certainly a lot of Aggie fans excited for him to have that moment from somebody who didn't get a lot of attention coming out of high school and had to work his way through getting more attention at the junior college level before coming to Utah State, and then succeeding at USU, finding his way into the NFL, and having a season for Kansas City. Hopefully he can be a big part of what their success as that continues in the future. All right, coming up next, we'll find out from another former Aggie, Troy Rolle, Utah State men's basketball player of the 1999-2000 team, one of those teams that will be recognized this coming weekend, and to find out from him what it was like playing for the Aggies in the Big West. And they had a great run in conference play, and he was a first-teamer for his conference as well. So find out some of the stories and experiences from Troy Rolle coming up next right here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Eric Frandsen with you on a Monday. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you didn't break your back too bad moving snow earlier today. There may be another storm coming through later on this week, but enjoy it. If you didn't have the kids have a late start, I hope they had a good time helping you move the snow. They may need to do it again this week. We'll update you on that as we get closer. One of the other big things that is going on this weekend is a reunion night for Utah State men's basketball. A couple different teams are going to be brought together. Members of those teams will be recognized at the Spectrum. And one of those is Troy Rolle, who participated in the 1999-2000 team. And he's going to be there this weekend. And he joins us now on the Full Court Press to reminisce on some of his time with the Aggies back then and what he's doing now. Troy, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Yes, you bet. Yeah, no worries at all.
First of all, let me ask you, I want to go back to your playing time, or actually even before your playing time at Utah State, and what it was that attracted you to come to USU. If I'm not mistaken, you're from Florida originally. So how did you find your way to Logan, Utah?
Yeah, so basically how that all happened went down as matter of fact, I remember I was in my coach's office in Farrell Davis. I don't know if you guys remember him, but he actually came out to Utah State. This is when I was in Chipola, Florida, basically around the Panhandle there in Marianna, Florida, right in that area. This is the school Marcus Saxon went to. So I'm in the office with my coach, and I said to him, I was like, yeah, I don't know where I'm going to go. He's like, hey, have you ever thought about Utah State? And I was like, and I didn't pay too much. I just kind of shrugged him off. I was like, I just really just shrugged him off and didn't really say anything to him. And so incidentally, after that, Farrell comes up to me and he's like, I took a visit to Utah State. You got to go check it out. I'm like, Utah? I'm like, where the heck is Utah? like, not only that, I've already like made a verbal commitment, and I'm having my mom sign the letter of intent for Long Beach State. That's how quick I made up my mind. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to go to Long Beach State because they were going to have a really good team, and I was going to be on the beach. It's going to be nice weather. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be really good, right?
Hard to argue against that.
Right. And so Larry calls me up before I send those papers in. It's amazing how this all worked out. Larry and Stacy calls me up, and he says, "Hey, I want to come down and visit you." He comes down, visits me, and all of a sudden we decided to like basically have a little chat and all that, and I was like, man, I really don't know where Utah State is. I'm like, I'm sorry. And I'm like, isn't that where they ride around with the dog sled and like the furs and all that type of stuff? And he's like just chuckling with me, and I'm giving him a hard time too.
That's awesome.
Because I already had my mind made up. And so I said, yeah, why don't you just come down and we talked. We had a great conversation, and his philosophy on basketball really matched where I was trying to go. I needed a coach that was going to push me to that next level because I wanted to be the best player I can be, even though I knew I would butt heads with this man. But I knew that he would push me to that next level, right? And so I came out, took a visit at Utah State, and I saw the spectrum. I saw Salt Lake, and but you know what was so funny about this trip is they brought me in at night. Usually they bring you in during the day, and like as we were pulling into town, there's these like large four-legged animals. Like I was shocked. I was like, wait a minute. I thought we were going to a college. What are these animals doing like right on the side of the road as we were pulling in? And to make a long story short, as I pulled in, I saw the spectrum, and I knew it. I was like, this is it. This is college basketball. And I changed my mind, and it was like the best decision a young man could make at that time in his life to kind of gear him where, for his next stages of his life. And so I that's why, Utah is definitely home for me, because regardless, I keep moving away, I keep coming back. And so that's that.
That's awesome. And as you were part of this, that Utah State team, in those teams, you were an honorable mention, your first full season playing for Utah State in the Big West. And then your senior year, you were made first team All Big West. What was it like playing in the Big West at that time, which was kind of an underrated conference? There was some pretty good basketball that was played in the Big West at that time. Yeah,
it really was. There wasn't any games that we thought we could just walk in and win. We had to prepare. And I think that's one of the nice things of playing under Stu Morrill is his preparation, his defensive scheme, most of all, that I took out of everything that he taught is basically he was just such a great teacher on defense and how to prepare for teams and yada yada. And I think that's what got us over the hump, because some of those teams, you're not just going to walk in and beat them. We had to be well prepared, and that's one thing that we always could count on is Stu preparation, and so I always tell him that for sure.
This was let me ask it this way: there were some games that you had that were just phenomenal games. You had your career night when you played Cal State Fullerton. You had a couple games where you were over 20 points. What was it about that system that really helped you become that player that you wanted to be, as you talked about earlier?
Well, you got to be mindful. The Stu system is not really my style of play. Honestly, this is like the brutal, honest truth. It's like, I'm more, I'm such a rhythm player, and that's why I think I averaged, throughout my careers of playing, sports, I've always averaged over 20-something points a game. That's just the type of player. That's just the type of player I was. It was so more rhythm. But with Stu's system, it's more of set. It's more of a team, like, team concept where each player has a responsibility, and we have to respond well to each other, setting screens, coming off of screens, down screens, all this type of stuff has to be kind of in sync. And that's the way his system thrived, right? So I had to actually adapt to that, to be able to be effective for the team. I'm used to just coming down where I'm feeling the shot, where I can actually pull up and take the shot. Within Stu's system, it's more like, basically you want to make sure we run through our early offense, and not only that, after we do our early offense, we got that motion, or we got our sets that we'll set up into. And so for me, I knew I had to make a change in my game to make it work to play at Utah State on the Stu system. Larry Stacey's system was a little bit different. It was more up and down. It was more, definitely same thing on the defensive end. I think both had very good defensive schemes and all that. But Larry Stacey was more my style, where we were able to get up and down and do certain things that way. But that's the thing with being within Stu's system. And what I've learned is when you're in a system and you're trying to become productive for the team, you really have to buy into the system to get acclimated, so that you can use all your gifts to become that player for that team, whatever capacity that may be, And so that's what I did. And that's, I think that's why, part of the reason why we were successful, because we really had a good team. We had other guys on that team that was really good. So,
it's fascinating stuff. Certainly, where you were kind of straddled both coaches that way in their times at Utah State. Again, we're talking to Troy Rolle. He was a first-team All-Big West player for Utah State in the 99-2000 season, one of the teams that will be honored this weekend. Had somebody text in and say one of the memories that they had of you playing for Utah State was a monster dunk that you had on a 7-footer from Boise State in the Spectrum. Do you recall, are there certain moments in your playing times for Utah State that really stand out to you, that you recall everything about that moment as it played out, how it all set up for everything that took place that day?
Yeah, see that dunk, I probably won't forget that one because it's always being brought up to me about like how it's like the top 50 college greatest dunks on YouTube and all this stuff. But I do that game. That game was like kind of a really pivotal moment for us within this conference. It was the game for us to go undefeated, and we knew Boise State was going to come in and was going to be physical. They were going to try to take us out of our game, and this was their goal. And the guy that was guarding me, he made sure that he was like throwing elbows. He's talking trash to me. And the way this dunk came about is Sean Daniels blocks the shot, and this ball is between me and the defender. I, kind of hit the ball out to in the open court, and I see my man trailing me, and he is hustling, and I'm like, please don't do it, because this is like my final my final game. There's nothing you're going to do that's going to stop me. And so I just took off, and next minute, the house was just going crazy, and they called a foul. I wasn't sure if they was going to call the charge or a foul, and then all of a sudden I look over to the ref and it was a charge, and I was, that was just an awesome moment. And then Bernard just had an awesome game. He was just draining 3-pointers, and it was just great. That was a really fun game, to come out and to win the tournament and go undefeated and to win the conference, and then go undefeated and undefeated in conference and to finish our conference season that way.
Yeah, that your senior year, that team went 28-6, 16-0 in conference play, rolled through the conference tournament, and made it to the NCAA tournament where Utah State hadn't been there had many opportunities to go there at that time. They've had many opportunities since, so you were part of a sea change that was taking place at Utah State. But in that tournament game, you guys faced UConn, and UConn's got great tradition. They've had some great players, but you guys played them pretty tough. What do you remember about that game?
Well, we knew we had the defending champs that year, and so we played our game. But here's a thought. This is one of the things that we all kind of collectively came to a conclusion with, is basically at the end of that game, there was Bernard Rock and Tony Brown. If those two just played half their game like they're capable of, we would have beat them. But the following year, Tony redeemed himself, played an awesome game to beat Ohio State and all that good stuff. But that's one of the things we took from that. But we went in knowing that we could match up against anybody, and really we just was that confident, not necessarily cocky at all, but we were just confident in what we were doing. And so I do want to stress this too, because at this time we didn't realize how good we were until we start going on this whole winning streak, and we all of a sudden just start looking around like, hey, we're doing pretty good, but we didn't realize how good we were until that Boise State game, and we won and we went undefeated. It all started to come together like, wow, okay, we could really do something really good here, and that's just how that whole season went. It's like we just had our heads, to the grind, and every game we took, every game, wasn't really looking at the rankings, but even though we thought we should have been there, though, but many of times, but it's all good. But that's just how that season came about.
What do you recall most about the game, the way that it played out, going to the NCAA tournament, being on that stage, and playing the reigning champs?
Oh man, that's like my type of game. I'm like, the bigger the better. I'm like, because you always want to match up against the best, because it gives you a chance to see how good you really are. And not only that, it's just the competitive nature that we all have. Is basically, we wanted to show the nation that we're just as good as anybody out there. And that's what we did. We went out and we competed. A few of our guys didn't compete to their level. If we had that and everybody's on their game, and that's just part of basketball. But the best part of it is that we went in it together, and we all stuck together through that whole process. And that's part. Even though I never got too high on like notoriety and that type of stuff. I'm like, really, what's going to show is when we step on the court and we take care of business, and then from there, everything else is just going to fall into place. That's the type of mindset that we had, that whole season.
We're talking to Troy Rolle, former Utah State men's basketball player of the 99-2000 team. It's going to be recognized coming up this weekend when Utah State takes on Boise State. Interesting that you keep referring to that game. It's going to be a reunion game and a revenge game on this current team's mind, I'm sure, for this weekend. But I think a couple other quick questions that I have for you is if you're comfortable sharing any unique anecdotes or stories about your time playing under Stu Morrill because he was a guy that became larger than life around here for his time as a head coach with his tremendous success. But as you said, he did have a different personality than Larry Eustace. Any anecdotes you could share about either one of those coaches and your experience with them, behind the scenes kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, Stu was more. I really had a great relationship with Stu. Like I understood where he was coming from. I saw his philosophy. His concept about a team unity. All these little things that Stu has within his system. I thought was really neat because I've never really, seen a coach like Stu before. Like the way his mind thinks on, basketball and especially preparation. He's absolutely a genius to me, and I've carried that with me everywhere. Whatever I'm doing, I'm always trying to be prepared for it. And not only that, I look at it as life too, and I do relate sports to life, and especially playing under Stu, which I would not change it for anything in the world because it was just such a great learning experience for me. Just the game, learning the game, in so many different facets, because I learned it, with other styles, but never a style like this that I was able to embrace and take on. But Stu's system, helped me with the preparation, and it kind of leaked over into my life, like, even with the ups and downs, the mistakes, the failures and the highs, the success and everything else that comes along with it. It's just being prepared and being ready for those moments. And that's something that I really take from Stu, is just that I really get him. Even though he's just a quiet, reserved, he's not like, out there too much, but I just related really well with him, in that way. And I think that's why we had a mutual respect, and I think that's what made our relationship so great, is that I just respect what he did, and he saw my effort, and I think that's why we just gelled well. And from there, Stu just went on to be very successful in, leading his teams on, and that's what I could really appreciate about him.
I think one of my last questions for you is one of the things that we want to do this week as we catch up with a lot of these former Aggie players is to find out what have you done since you left Utah State? After your playing time in an Aggie uniform, what's Troy Rolle been up to since then?
Man, oh my goodness. I actually thought I would go on and play, after I got done, I went in to the NBA with the Orlando Magic, went to Detroit Pistons. Matter of fact, I was so fortunate. I did my pre-draft workouts with the Atlanta Hawks. That was just an amazing deal there for me, to go in and just to experience what those guys go through, to get selected by a team and all that. So that was really cool. But here's what really started to carry over is when I started to get into like the workforce, because I'm like, man, I got to get a job. It's like, what is this? And so this is when reality sets in on me. And so I'm sitting there thinking like, man, what is this? So I knew I had to do something. I wanted to be, if I wasn't playing basketball, I wanted to do something that I'm always trying to help people out. And if I'm doing something to help somebody out, I think my life will have some type of fulfillment and meaning to it. And so I jumped right into the medical field. So I wanted to be a PA. So I didn't get accepted into PA school my first year. But incidentally, the Jazz calls me up and say, hey, we're going to bring you in, work you out. I was like, unbelievable opportunity. So I'm like, yes, I will take it. Right. And so I played the summer league with them. After that, I had this feeling like this was the end of my basketball career. I was still in my prime. They put me at a 44-inch vertical while I was there with the Jazz. I felt like the most healthiest at that time. And I had this feeling like this was it. And after I got done with that, I jumped right into respiratory therapy. And so that's what I've been doing for like 11 years. And after that, I jumped into sales. And so I was working in the medical field. We're doing a lot of sales in that aspect. And I'm still in sales now today, but now more on the financial side with Rapid Financial Solution. And so that's what I do. And and my life has just taken me, places, and I still apply those things that I've learned in sports to what I'm doing now today.
Wow.
I think that's part of my success is that, there were failures in between too. I won't share all the failures though, but I will share the good times. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm fortunate. I'm in a place where I can, do some really good things and get some really good results with my effort. And that's one of the things that taking from Stu's system and from all the coaches that I had experiences with, and especially, here with Utah State, it is effort, because this is what our town is all about, is going out and putting effort on that court to get a result that you want. And if, you lose, at least you could say you put all your effort into it. And so that's what I've been up to.
Well, Troy, it's fascinating stuff. We remember you well when you were at Utah State, and opportunities to try to make it into the NBA. But it sounds like you've had some other things that have happened in your life since then, and it sounds like you're well. And look forward to seeing you back up at Utah State on the Spectrum floor coming up this weekend.
Awesome. Yeah, I really do. I appreciate it.
And last thing for me, just do you keep up with some of your former players? Do you keep up with some of those guys? You stay in touch?
Yeah, we do. I'm friends with them, a lot of them on Facebook and all that. You know how it is once you get your life and you get hustling and you got kids and everything else is, in place. It's like, you're just so focused on what you're doing. Sometimes, sometimes people are a little distant, a little bit away, but we still, regardless on how absent we are from each other, as soon as we get together, it is like we haven't skipped a beat. That's just a part of that camaraderie we build, and battling together on the court and all that good stuff. And that's the one thing as players we miss the most, is that the camaraderie that we built with our teammates, and just the laughter and the friendships, being that close with each other. That's the part we miss, but understand the world keeps going around and life keeps going on. So,
well, it should be a fun reunion for you and some of those other folks of that 2000 or 99 and 2000 team, and we look forward to seeing you on the court on Saturday night.
Awesome. Yep.
Thank you, Troy Rolle. He was a first-team All-Big West and a great asset to what Utah State began a tremendous run of success for USU. He was a big part of that. So thanks again, Troy. Appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll step aside. We'll find out a couple other things. We'll give you some updates on what's going on in Region 11 standings for high school basketball, updates on what's going on currently with the Utah Jazz. All that's ahead here on the Full Court Press.
The Aggies, the Jazz, the high schools, the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Big thanks to Troy Rolle for joining us here on the Full Court Press. That was a lot of fun. Really enjoy catching up with former players, find out their memories of their time and what they've done since. So, yeah, pretty fun stuff. And we're going to have a lot more of that through the week. So stay tuned. You don't want to miss any of it. But if you do, we got you covered. We'll have it all posted on our website, 1069thefan.com. Go back and listen to our past episodes and or subscribe to us on different podcast platforms where we are available there. Just search my name, Ajay's name, Ajay Salvesen, or search the Full Court Press, and you'll find us there. Quick update, Utah Jazz, they're off for a couple of nights, licking their wounds, trying to figure out how to get their defense back on track. Jazz have now lost 4 straight. A team that won 20 of their last 22 before this losing streak looks like a very different team all of a sudden. Big difference is they're going up against really good teams. We knew they're going right into the teeth of a very tough stretch, and so far, not that great. Not only are the players better, but the coaches are also better, and the Utah Jazz need to adapt and adjust to that. Getting everybody to play well at the same time is certainly a big key. And there's been moments where certain players look good, but others have off nights. And against this type of schedule, can't do that. So the Jazz were in second. They've dropped to fourth. They're just a game ahead of Houston, but only 2 games behind the Clippers, who are in second place. So Jazz not out of it. It's not horrible, but they have lost some ground. So it's an important stretch for them. And a lot of games for opponents that they've already faced or will face multiple times here over the next couple of weeks. So we'll see how quickly they adjust and get better and back on track to great Jazz basketball. Quick update on what's going on in Region 11 on the other side of this break after we find out what else has happened this last week from the Mountain West with This Week in the Mountain West with Nate Kreckman.
This is your Mountain West basketball update with Nate Kreckman.
Number 4 San Diego State down 8 at halftime Saturday to Utah State on the night they'd retired Kawhi Leonard's jersey. But a furious second-half rally keeps the Aztecs perfect on the season.
The bad pass taken by Malachi. Saved it to the baseline across to Mitchell. Mitchell put it on the floor after he draws it to pull up the 3. Good! Mitchell again, Matt Mitchell. Crowd going crazy. The Aztecs have retaken the lead.
Ted Leitner on extra 13-60, 23-0 now for San Diego State. They win it 80-68. Matt Mitchell hits 4 triples, goes off for 28 points to lead all scorers. Nobody catching the Aztecs this season, so it's a race for the 2 seed in the Mountain West. And right now, that's between Colorado State and Boise State, both 7-4 in conference. First, the Rams. They beat UNLV 95-77 Saturday at Moby Arena.
Down the lane, Hardy had it taken away. Rams have the numbers. Edwards to Moore to Tonje! Dunk!
Brian Roth from Learfield IMG College. Freshman Isaiah Stevens stays hot with 21. Now for the Broncos, a 73-64 home win over Nevada Saturday.
Alston dribbles into the paint, attacks Meeks, and gets the layup. It was attack mode for Alston. So back-to-back baskets stretches the lead back to 7.
Bob Beeler for Learfield IMG College. Boise State has won 4 in a row as Derek Alston goes for 24. Your other Saturday finals, Fresno State hands New Mexico their 5th loss in the last 6, 82-77. And Wyoming off the mat. Cowboys get their first conference win, 71-66 at San Jose State.
Milton tries the end line, in deep, leaves it for Taylor. Scoop it up and in with the left hand.
Dave Walsh for Learfield IMG College. Wyoming snaps an 8-game skid. Women's hoops Saturday, UNLV down CSU 56-52 in Las Vegas. Justice Etheridge hits 5 threes for the Lady Rebels. And that's your Mountain West basketball update. I'm Nate Kreckman.
Talking the sports you care about. The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 1069 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Once again, a big thank you to Troy Rolle, who joined us for a big chunk of the hour. Going back through some of his memories playing for Utah State, member of that 1999-2000 men's basketball team that won the Big West, went undefeated in Big West play, 16-0, 28-6 overall, went to the NCAA tournament and faced UConn. But this is part of the reunion teams that are going to be taking place this weekend when Utah State takes on Boise State. That game will be at 8 o'clock in the Spectrum. If you can't make it, certainly we encourage you to make it, but if you can't, then turn on CBS Sports Network. CBS Sports Network will also be airing the Utah State UNLV game on Wednesday. Tip-offs for both of those games will be at 8 o'clock. Utah State certainly trying to get themselves back in the driver's seat for Mountain West play, as they've been kind of pushed down to the middle of the pack. There's a lot of teams that are all very similar, and then there's San Diego State way above everybody else. Utah State needs to finish the season out strong to be considered to get an opportunity for the NCAA tournament. Anyway, high school basketball, Region 11 play. There was a bit of a scheduling difference last week. Mountain Crest did play on a Wednesday. Most other boys' teams didn't. Mountain Crest played Preston and got steamrolled by the Indians and lost by over 30 points. And that is kind of a theme for the Mustangs lately. They've had 4 games where they have lost by huge margins. But as far as who's on top, after a Friday of play for the boys, Skyview is still number 1. They're 15-2 overall, 6-0 in region play. But Ridgeline is making it interesting. They only have 1 loss in region play, and frankly, they've been the only team to keep it somewhat close against Skyview. They lost by 11 points earlier in the year when they played at Skyview. Those 2 teams will face each other again this Friday. It'll be in Millville. Ridgeline will host Skyview Friday night at 7 o'clock. That'll be a big matchup of the week. Ridgeline is number 3 right now in the latest RPI standings from the UHSAA. Bear River is at number 9. They're at 2-4. So it's kind of a pretty significant drop-off in region standings between Ridgeline and everybody else. Well, Skyview and Ridgeline and then everybody else. Bear River's at 2-4 in region play. Green Canyon's 2-4. Logan is 3-3. They have a better region record, but because of the way the RPI works, Logan is 14th in the overall standings. And according to RPI, they would be below Bear River and Green Canyon. And then Mountain Crest is bringing up the rear at 1-16 overall. They have yet to win a region game. But in girls basketball, kind of interesting. Ridgeline boys are number 3 in the state. Ridgeline girls are number 2 in the state. They're a perfect 6-0 in region play, 14-4 overall. And in the rest of the girls' standings, Green Canyon is 4th in the state. And they're at 4-2 in region play. Logan is 6th in the state at 4-2. Then Skyview is 11th, Bear River 12th, Mountain Crest 14th. And just a reminder, if you're in that top 10, you get that first round bye when it comes to playoff time. So still a couple weeks to play, but the season is now shifted to the alternate locations to where the region began. So the teams are starting to make return trips or get to opponents, facing opponents they've already played earlier on in the year. And so for the girls, kind of interesting matchup on Tuesday, Ridgeline and Bear River going to be facing each other, Green Canyon and Mountain Crest, Logan and Skyview. And then on Thursday, it'll be Logan and Green Canyon, Ridgeline versus Skyview, Bear River versus Mountain Crest. So it's a big week for high school basketball. We'll have those games on our family of radio stations. You can see the schedules, the standings. It's all posted there on CashValleyDaily.com to see what the latest RPI rankings look like and who's playing whom, where, and what's on the line in those games. I break it down all on CashValleyDaily.com. You can go see it with the headline, Skyview tops boys 4A RPI, Ridgeline boys gaining ground, while Ridgeline girls remain in second. So go check that out. Again, a big thanks to Troy Rolle, who joined us earlier on in the hour to talk about his time at Utah State. We'll have more former players joining us throughout the week, and a big special guest will be coming up on Friday. We'll hear from the big man himself, Stu Morrill. Stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great night. Stay safe.